Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Made in New England interview series, where we interview New England-based companies and the people who lead them. I'm your host, Steve DeVries, and today I'm joined by Alex Bellman, the Chief Operating Officer of Bellman Jewelers in Manchester, New Hampshire. And he's also known on social media as the Truthful Jeweler. Alex, thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you so much, man. I'm excited to be here.
Absolutely. Would you like to kick us off and tell us, a little bit about you, have a brief background, and what your company does?
Yeah, absolutely. So I am the second generation of Bellman Jewelers. We're located in Manchester, New Hampshire. My dad started the business, and it's a really beautiful story. I'm going to shorten it for the podcast, but his father passed away when he was 18, and his dad at the time was the breadwinner, and so his mom was a stay-at-home mom, and there was no money, and so he had to figure out something to do. And through a weird set of circumstances, he ended up being introduced to a gold chain salesman who taught him how to buy gold chain at wholesale and sell to jewelry stores. So he was going door to door, selling it to jewelry stores, selling it to his friends. And then he saw the margins they were getting. He's like, I can beat them and do half that. So he started selling gold chains just solely. He stopped going to those jewelry stores. Then he remortgaged his mom's house to open a little tiny location down the street here in the basement of an old Victorian. That actually ended up adding some cool factor to it where people are like, did you hear about that place with the affordable jeweler that's in the basement? And they have to buzz you in. And so like that actually ended up helping him a lot and helping him grow. And his first employees were his cousin, who was one of his partners, and his brother and my grandmother. And then as they grew, they ended up in the location where we are here. And we grew to like 5 or 6 employees. And then later on, I came and joined, and we got on the social media train because we had a very special model. We were a volume jewelry store, just meaning we focus more on the customer. Our prices are low, and we hope because they're low, clients return more often. And there was no way for us to advertise that without spending tons of money, which is how you end up with these volume businesses struggling. TikTok came out. We started pushing our content. We were able to show our prices versus other people. And now we have 20 people and we're opening our second location. So that's the synopsis anyway.
Wow. So what would you say has driven your success to this point? And I have to ask, how did the Truthful Jeweler idea come about?
So the Truthful Jeweler it's 2020, COVID, everyone shut down. The state said we could stay open because we buy gold. And so as workaholics, we were like, absolutely, we'll stay open. We gave our staff, that was when they would pay your staff to go home. And so we gave the staff the option. Almost all of them went home. So it was just me, my dad, and our now manager, Amber. She was the only one who stayed. And so we would be here all day, see 1, 2 people. I mean, we actually were selling, but it was, quiet. And I was like, I have to make something of this time. We can't just sit here bored all day. So I wanted to create a TikTok, and everyone was like, oh, TikTok's just kids dancing, but you always got to trust Gary Vee when he says something. And Gary Vee said TikTok was the next big thing. I believe that guy. So we jumped on. And what's inherently wrong with my industry is it's insanely dishonest. It's the main mission of our industry. Our industry creates confusion and dishonesty for profit. And so I wanted to create content that was just giving it all away. And if people wanted to listen, they could listen. And if they don't want to listen, that's okay. And so we give away all the industry secrets. We tell how they do it, how pricing works. And that's why I chose the Truthful Jeweler, because there are a lot of what I could have put was like volume jeweler, this jeweler, low prices. That's what the worst jewelers do. Like some of the worst overpriced people claim they're wholesalers. And so in my industry, I wanted to create a whole different term of just being honest. And so that's what we went with.
Wow. What an amazing story. So here you are as COO of your company. For all the business people, all the business geeks like me out there, as a COO, what things do you look at in order to help you know if your business is moving in the right direction and meeting its goals? Are there metrics or market indicators that help you make decisions?
Yeah, I think there's different indicators for different businesses. Like for us, we're not particularly profit focused. Obviously, that's very important, but I'm not every day looking at our margins. What I'm actually keeping more track of is our transaction count and then our margins. So I go, okay, so did we do, fake numbers? Did we do 3,000 transactions last month? Okay. Or last month in 2024? okay, so I'm expecting us to do 3,000 plus transactions this month. That way we keep that volume up. And then afterward, we're checking our margin, because what we're really trying to do is keep that volume high and our margin low. But we also can't make mistakes. So if you have that high volume and all your staff are making pricing mistakes, right? Because you're already cheap, then you have a real margin issue. So that's really what we do. We keep track of transaction count, and then we kind of talk to everyone about how we can keep our tight margins tight. Like, we don't discount. It's one of the things that we hold very strongly, because we can.
Yeah, you're already there, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So you rely really on those tight controls from the onset of the sale.
We do. Yeah, we keep it. It allows our clients to feel comfortable, because you'll still have clients come in and say, can I have a discount? Can I do this? And the answer is always no. And the reason why it's no is because I'm cheaper before your sale. So a great example would be like lab grown diamond studs. We put out a video on this. There was like 10 websites, the local jewelers near us, a bunch of TikTok jewelers. Everyone was putting up their Black Friday lab grown diamond stud sales that were giving between 50 and 30% off. Not one of those guys were cheaper than us during their sale. So they were giving 50 to 30% off, and our studs were still cheaper. And I don't want that to come off salesy. The point of it is, we don't have anywhere to go. We are at the bottom, and the clients who work with us a lot, they respect that. And then we, on top of that, give them the best possible customer service we can. Like, our main goal is our customer service, and profit comes second.
And when we were talking before the recording, I think you said you do a lot with custom jewelry as well.
Yeah, it's so cool. One of the other things I found early on when the store started to grow is we were one of the first stores to even offer 3D printing. At the time, I had to get it from someone else, and I did have to pay for it, which meant the client had to pay. Actually, the client did not have to pay for it. I used to eat it. It was $50 a print. It was wicked expensive.
Mm.
And the CAD drawing, because you would draw a 3D rendering of it, that was crazy expensive. And I would generally eat that up to a certain point, but you weren't allowed to make a lot of changes to it. I had to basically do one drawing, and we could make micro changes to it. Where today, and the way it shifted, and it happened right at the perfect time, like right during COVID. Our business had just kicked off right pre-COVID and start to really grow. And what we found is that vendors would be willing to give us free CAD work in exchange for our volume with them. And there was a vendor we truly love, and they gave us that. And I started offering free custom. Now, what most jeweler stores do, there are other jeweler stores that have this offer. They still charge for the CADs, $50 to $150 per CAD, because they can't accept doing something for someone at no charge. So we literally do it at no charge. And now you can make as many changes as you want. Like, I'll have people, some people make 3 CADs, that's their ring. The other people make 12, and that's their ring. But no matter what, we get to the exact ring they want that makes them the most happiest, with no restraints, no, like, you can't draw anymore, you can't do this. And then we figured out we can 3D print in-house, and we bought some 3D printers. And so now you design your ring. Within 24 hours, I have it printed. It's mailed to you. Here, I have one. It is exactly your ring, your finger size, the diamond size in the center. And you get to wear it around and mess around with it. It's cool. And no store offers that service for free. And that also helped us grow massively.
Okay. So you're partnering with someone who's doing the CAD design for you, and then they send you the CAD files, and you're running the 3D printer.
Yep. Yeah. And we had to do it that way. I wanted to learn CAD, and so I had started learning. We probably submit 20 to 50 CADs a day, and they get them back to us within 48 hours. So I would have never been able to keep up with that.
Yeah, I mean, and listen, coming from running engineering businesses, that's not, learning CAD and being really good with it is not an easy thing, right? It's not something that happens overnight. So I applaud you for using someone else's expertise and sticking to what it is that you know best, right? Because that's the best business model that I've found. So switching gears a little bit, what excites you most about the future of your business or the jewelry industry?
I mean, lab-grown diamonds are taking over the business. It's completely shifted everything. Pre-2020, there were lab-grown diamonds, but nobody wanted to touch them. They were very expensive. Today, 5 years later, lab-grown diamonds are 80% of the sales that we do. It's different for every business because some refuse to sell labs, right? But it's 80% of the business we do. We have clients of every income level wanting labs, whether you are just starting out or you have beyond retired and you have all the money in the world, they're still buying lab grown because lab grown is 90% cheaper. So if you're talking about a 2-carat natural diamond, that'll range around $15,000 to $18,000 for an average one. The average lab grown will be $1,200 as of today's recording, by the way, because the labs go down constantly. So I always put that in there as a thing. They're always getting cheaper. So as of today, $1,200 for a great lab grown. So the whole market is shifting, and it's kind of what people want, because what it does is, with everything being so much more expensive now, it gives them the freedom to do whatever they want. And so I think that's going to progress. And I think custom is the future. I don't think people are any longer going to want to walk into a store and just grab something unless they really need it, versus they're going to want to design something for them. And because the design is free and the labs are so cheap, they're going to make cool stuff. And they have been, by the way, make really cool stuff. We make like a lot of like very cool, very exciting pieces.
That's fantastic. And I had, until this conversation, I had no idea about lab grown diamonds versus, say, natural diamonds, right? Just real quick for the benefit of people watching, what's obviously lab grown versus natural? You can imagine that, but is there any real difference between the two?
There's nothing visual. So they're 100% chemically the same and 100% visually the same. The difference would be how they're grown, obviously. And what's interesting about that is so many people think that lab grown means like CZ or moissanite. And so sometimes you'll have people who don't want it until they find out what it really is, that it is a real diamond. The difference, though, it holds no value. So if you spend $1,200 on a 2-carat, no jeweler is willing to buy it back right now because the prices keep falling. Like a 2-carat 3 years ago was $5,000. Now it's up $1,200. So they're just dipping so hard. So we're afraid to buy them back. So right now they don't hold value, but the cost savings compared to the 18 grand is where people are giving in. They're like, I'd rather buy something for 1,800 than 18,000.
Wow.
And so it's very, very cool. They're beautiful. There are issues with them. Some can be gray, some can be blue, but if you're working with a good person, they'll make sure you don't end up with one of those.
Okay. And so does the lab grown diamond market, do you see that having any kind of impact on the value of natural grown diamonds?
That is a good question. My ADD brain left that, but I wanted to mention that. Yes. So initially in 2022, the prices of natural were going up. This is like post-COVID. Everybody's getting engaged. They're like, we survived COVID. I love you. Let's get it rings. Natural prices are going up and labs are dipping. And they had this pivot right at the beginning of 2022 where it was 50-50 up till then. And then it just fell off and people wanted labs. There is a massive natural diamond crash. Previous to 2022, if you bought a diamond from us, let's say in 2018, and you came back to me in 2020, either I would be paying you exactly what you paid me because the price would have gone up to what the way I do it is I buy it back for what it's selling for at wholesale. It gives the client the most fair option. Most jewelers will pay below wholesale. They want a deal, right? They're buying it back. I don't get it. But so we buy it back at wholesale. You probably would have got all your money back. It probably would have gone up enough where you made your money back. The difference now is it doesn't. There was a stone I bought in 2019 for $5,500, and today I can buy that stone for $2,500.
Wow. So it has had an impact.
A massive impact. And there's a lot of people that spent a lot of money in the early 2000s that their diamonds are all underwater. And it's sometimes it's a bad jeweler, right? You can overpay by a lot. But if you come to a jeweler like us, there's nothing we can do about it. It's just the way the market is.
Well, I just found out my wife's diamond may have lost value then because I bought it in 1999.
Actually, it might go the other way. Pre-2000, you still might be in it.
Oh, that's funny. That's funny.
It's all about, it's still up. Like from 1990 to now, it's still up, but it's definitely 50% lower than it was in 19.
Wow. Okay.
So it's a balance. It's kind of like homes a little bit. It's not totally underwater for sure.
So interesting. So interesting. So if you could wave a magic wand, right, and you wave it over your industry or over your own business specifically and make one thing happen, what would you do?
Well, the industry, I wouldn't change because it's what's allowing us to be so competitive, is the fact that they don't want to change. But if I could wave a magic wand, I would raise capital. I would like to build my model faster. And because, again, we're a low margin model, even getting the second location is really, really hard for us. We don't pay ourselves well. Not a sob story, just how it works. We don't pay ourselves well. I reinvest every dollar back into the business. We save it. Me and my CFO, we work very hard to make sure we save everything we can to allow us to open our second location. So even the second location is a massive risk for us. It's everything we have. So I would love funding, because I would like to take on an investor who believes in the model, because we did pitch it at first and people don't believe in the volume model, which is so funny because they watch Costco do it. But I know Costco is a membership business, not a volume business, but they still do volume. So yeah, it's interesting. It would be cash. We would want a nice cash infusion, and I'd open more than one store.
Okay. So the name of the show is Made in New England, right? And so we talk with New England-based companies, and particularly ones who make things, right? So for you, you're making custom jewelry. How does being in New England impact your business, pros or cons?
The pros would be New Englanders grind really hard. The average New Englander, I find, works extraordinarily hard, where when you go further west, everyone has a bit of a different opinion on work. It's their weather's nicer. They can go outside. Of course, they want to go for a hike and a run and go swim. Where New Englanders were kind of trapped inside. So we're like, you know what? I might as well put in 80 hours this week. What's the big deal? I got nowhere else to be. And if I go outside, I'll freeze to death. So I love that side of it. So like, we can hire exceptionally hardworking employees here in New England. The downfalls would just be the population size, to be honest. As much as we get extremely hardworking people and we pay well, it is hard to find people. And we do end up finding them. We have an amazing team of 20. But it was a battle in between each hire, right? You hire someone, then you got someone who doesn't really fit the model and they have to get off the bus, and then we get someone else on the bus. But yeah, it's really staffing would be the biggest thing. And New England is just a really fun place to be. And everything's a small world, so it's really easy to network your way into things.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we were talking again before the show, and come to find out, just looking at your LinkedIn feed, that, I do a lot of networking. You're doing networking, and I actually met your wife. I had no idea that you were married to Rachel. And so it's a small business world, small community. And I do think that's kind of cool.
It makes it so much more fun. Like, you could move to the city today, and then tomorrow you could bump into Dean Kamen and be talking to a billionaire who is running the largest organ growing operation in the world, out of New England, out of New Hampshire, of all places, out of our mill buildings.
I know.
And it's that kind of special where when you only have 1 million people in a state, that, 5 degrees of separation, whatever it is, that's real here. I mean,
absolutely is. Absolutely is.
You're a couple people from someone important.
Sure. So I know your business it's multi-generational family business, but I definitely see the entrepreneurial spirit in you. You are an entrepreneur. You're taking your business to the next level. What advice would you give to fellow entrepreneurs like yourself, young, up and coming, growing rapidly? What kind of advice would you give?
I made a bunch of mistakes doing all this, which was good and bad, right? One of my major mistakes was not giving up control fast enough. I think we would have grown faster had I put a manager in place and really given them the ability to do anything they wanted versus me kind of like keeping my hands on everything. And the other thing that I did is I should have taken even bigger risks. Every risk I ever took, it either paid off or failed, and then for whatever reason paid off 2 years later. Like, no risk we ever took was ever in vain. Either we learned something or it paid off immediately or it paid off in the future. And even when you learn something, as long as it doesn't put you out of business, it's amazing. And so I wish I had taken a lot more risks. I think that we would have had a second location right now. Like, I used to refuse locations. People would ask me all the time, you can open another one? No, I don't want it. I don't want it. My brain shifted as we grew. And I do regret that. I do regret not taking bigger risks. I think I was too afraid and thinking like, I'm in my 20s. If I ruin it now, what's going to happen? If I ruin it now, I have so much time to start over. That's my biggest regret. I should have taken more risks.
I love that. That is great advice. So can you tell everybody how they can find your business?
So we are located at on Elm Street, Manchester, New Hampshire. Otherwise, you can find us at bellmans.com or on Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube as Bellman Jewelers or the Truthful Jeweler. So we have accounts for both. The Truthful Jeweler is a little bit more educational videos, and Bellman Jewelers is going to be just your traditional posting about the beautiful things we make and stuff like that. So it's a cool dynamic.
Very cool. Well, thank you so much for your time today, Alex. We've been speaking with Alex Bellman of Bellman Jewelers in Manchester and soon to be Boston as well. It was great speaking with you.
Thank you so much. Great speaking with you too.
All right. And to everybody watching, I look forward to seeing you at our next episode. Take care.